Welcome to episode 20 of Pera's Playbook. Today we're joined by Makenna Carbon of the Cal Poly women's soccer team. Makenna, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. You're our first soccer player on the podcast. So,
Oh, really? Oh my
yeah.
gosh. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's something, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. There's always a first.
Yeah, right. So you guys had a long bus ride down to UCLA or not too long?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad actually. We had practice this morning and then we left today around 1 and stopped and had dinner. We just got to the hotel around 10 minutes ago. So now it's 6:30. So yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that UCLA game a little bit later in the episode. We might as well kind of start by talking about how you ended up at Cal Poly, your recruitment. Was your recruiting period in COVID? I know your first year was kind of COVID season cancel everything. So was your recruiting kind of a mess with COVID too?
Yeah, so you know what? I was actually really fortunate enough. My recruitment was not affected by COVID at all. So I actually verbally committed to Cal Poly my sophomore year of high school. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so I know now that the NC2A rules are different regarding high school athletes being allowed to talk to coaches. But back then, it was 5 years ago, but back then, um, we they couldn't contact us. However, they could contact our club coach, and then like our club coach could be the middleman, and there was definitely loopholes. So anyways, so I committed my verbal commitment my sophomore year of high school. And then my senior year was when we signed, the official document. And then yeah, like you said, so I didn't have a season my freshman season because of due to COVID. But uh we still so didn't have a season. However, we did practice still my freshman year, and that was huge because I know a lot of teams in the area in California and even in our Big West League, they weren't even allowing people on campus. So SLO was really fortunate enough to like let kids on campus and let us train. So we were able to train the whole year. And we got a few games in the spring, just some local scrimmages. But yeah, so I was
Yeah.
lucky enough to not be affected by COVID.
Yeah, still a tough first year to have. I mean, it's not the dream beginning to college that everyone pictures that freshman year of college and how great it's going to be, and definitely wasn't that for most people.
Yeah, no, not at all. And honestly, like it wasn't like you said, the amazing freshman experience for me, but it was a hell of a lot better than I know other people.
Yeah.
Definitely it made the best of the situation. But yeah, it was hard. I mean, we had to practice in pods the first like quarter, so that was just basically the people that you lived with. So it was our whole freshman class and like these three unlucky juniors that all lived together that were stuck with freshmen for the first, like 3 months. So yeah, it was definitely tough. We made the best out of it though. All of us wanted to be there, wanted to be playing, but we were smart and we like followed the rules and the guidelines, but we made the
Yeah.
best out of a sticky situation.
Made it through it. Now we're here. Things are back to normal. You had a couple seasons under your belt now. 2021, you
Mhm.
got your first playing action. You had 13 matches with 7 starts. Talk about your first match. Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you all of the above? Just lots of emotions.
Yeah, so the first match, as I said previously, we had a few scrimmages in like my freshman year in the spring, but they just don't really count, But my
No,
first
right.
real, yeah, it's like, like that doesn't really count. But my first real match that counted, it was in preseason and it counted towards our overall record for the 2021 season. It was also my first start was against Stanford. And so that was just I remember getting our schedule and seeing that and I was just like, "Oh my gosh." But yeah, so I was just feeling all those emotions, nervous, excited, scared, like just didn't know what to expect. And the game, so we ended up losing 2-0, but anyone that like was there or like or both teams kind of knew that like we gave them a game. So it was 2-0 and they only scored off of a PK shot, which is like a penalty kick, like, 12 yards
Yeah.
out from the goal, and then off of another free kick. So they never scored on the run of play. We also had a goal that was called offsides. So we gave them a game, and it felt, even though we lost, it was a really good start to our season. And for me, as like my first game ever, just to be like, okay, like we can go toe to toe with teams, Stanford ranked top 10 teams. And while we didn't maybe, get the on paper result, it didn't feel like we lost. So
Yeah. Yeah,
that was
totally.
a great first game and great first start. So yeah.
Yeah, it often is like that. People look at a box score and the score really doesn't tell the story for
Right.
most of the time. I mean, you got to look at when were the goals scored, how were the goals scored, and like you said, they were just free kicks. They weren't like they were scoring on you and you guys couldn't stop them because your defense wasn't good enough. For I mean, like,
Right.
so it really, when you guys again, and like you said, top 10 team. I mean, that gives you a lot of confidence in yourself, your team, all that, and it's a great game to start off. I mean, a lot of teams
Yeah.
would play a top 10 team like that and they just get cranked, and then the first memory would be a horrible memory. So the fact that yours is good, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, that was, I know. There's also the thought of like back in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if we just lose like 6-0? But thankfully we didn't. We just came balls out and we had nothing to lose. So
Yeah.
that was a great first experience.
You also
Yeah.
had your first college goal in 2021. That's exciting. Obviously, everyone wants to score. It's that's what people think
Yeah.
about. They think about the
Yeah.
scoring goals and the highlights and the thrills and
Right. No, yeah. And that was, oh my gosh, that was such a great experience too. So that was a couple weeks after the Stanford game. It was at home. We played San Jose State, and uh previously in the past, it's always a pretty good game against them. Like we're pretty evenly matched, I guess you can say. And for whatever reason, this game we blew them out. Like I think it was either 4 or 5-0. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think I scored the last goal of the game. And it was just like the cherry on top for the game. It was my first goal. I think it was 5-0. So, it's whenever you beat any D1 team 5-0, it's just like it's like, wow, like why did we do that? Like, what are they doing wrong? Like, so no, that was a really cool first experience. And I know my teammates were super happy for me. So that's definitely an unforgettable memory of mine.
yeah, and then you feel like the monkey's off your back, the weight's off your shoulder. Like sometimes there's pressure. Like when am I gonna get my first goal? When am I gonna?
Right.
For some people, it takes a long time. People don't score a goal until their last season, and they finally
Yeah.
do it. So to get that out of the way, kind of can help with
Yeah.
just you know the whole mental part of sports too. I mean, once you get that out of your way, you kind of take a step back. You're like, okay, I scored. We're all good.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. And it was definitely a huge confidence booster in the way of like, because my freshman season, I was lucky enough to kind of get the start most games. And so this just kind of like the goal solidified, like, okay, like I do deserve to be starting. I do, just like even though I
Yeah.
knew it, but like just not to prove it to anyone, but just to really like nail in the fact, like, yeah, like that is my freshman season. But I was contributing, and that just kind of made me feel like, okay, like you said, like monkey off the back kind of. So
It's easy to doubt yourself. I mean, like even if you know you should be playing D1 athletic, it's easy to
yeah.
you can question yourself. You have one bad game, you're like, really, should I be here? So
Right.
then, like you said, that confidence in yourself, like, yeah, I can't, I should be here. I just scored on a D1 goalie. Like, I deserve to be here.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a good feeling, because you're exactly right. I mean, the self-doubt is just crazy. So just, was able to solidify it and like on paper be like, oh yeah, I scored this game. Like, so that was
Yeah.
nice.
So what do you think the hardest adjustment for you was from high school to college, or what are some of the biggest differences you noticed, and then having to adjust to those?
Yeah, so for sure, right off the bat, I think the biggest one is just speed of play. I mean, obviously, each level you go up, like people are probably going to be like more fitter, more aggressive, more skillful, but I think that's known. But I think the speed of play was something that was a shock to me. And by that, I mean, like, you know, in high school, maybe taking like 2 to 3 touches to get a pass off, to play a through ball, to, or just even like how fast your brain is thinking. In college, it's everything has to be one touch, or if not one touch, you have to know like 2 steps ahead of you, like what you're going to do when you get the ball, like who you're working with, like if you're running off the ball. So yeah, it's just speed of play and like speed of thought process, I think was the biggest adjustment that I had to get used to.
Yeah. I mean, once you hit that D1 level, you're playing against seniors, and I mean, their soccer IQ is going to be so high that
Mm-hmm.
you come in as a freshman, kind of like you said, you're not used to that speed, or you're not used to having to make those decisions like multiple kind of steps ahead when, you know, and it's hard to kind of get thrown into the fire. And that's kind of what D1 athletics seems. Obviously, I don't know from experience, but seems like it's kind of, you kind of get thrown into the fire when you're playing against people that way more experience than you have in that moment. And there's often a lot of pressure on freshmen who start to, you know, you're playing, they expect a lot of you. They recruited you to this school and all that. So
Yeah.
definitely can be
Yeah,
difficult.
no, you're exactly right. And that's exactly what it is. You know, if you're a freshman that has been kind of showing up at practice, has been kind of put in the work, like they're gonna give you an opportunity in the game. And so they throw you in there, and like you said, you're going against seniors. And I know that some girls might have had an extra COVID year, so could have been playing against 5th years and 6th years. So these girls potentially could have been 23 years old, and I was young, so I think I was 19 at the time. And so, you know, they have 5 years plus, and not so much like, you know, the fitness wise, but just like it's like the mental game that they had. So yeah, that was just a hard transition. And like you said, you just gotta rise. You just gotta rise above it, and you know,
Yeah.
get past it. It's tough at first, but you just gotta keep grinding through it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you can. You just got to keep
Yeah,
grinding. And that's kind of I feel like the best way to look at all of it, you know, with physical, mental, all the whole, every aspect. You just got to keep grinding. You can't give up. You can't let the lows keep you low. You got to, you know, dig yourself out of
right.
that hole, or, you know, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
No, yeah, I agree.
So then in 2022, you played 15 matches with a couple starts, and probably the biggest moment, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just guessing, would be the game winner you had. I mean, that's obviously, that's even more exciting than just like a regular goal, because it's the game
Yeah.
winner. That now
Yeah.
everyone's looking at you like, you know.
Yeah. No, that was just such a great game for our team and me, and just me personally. Because previous season, my freshman season, you know, I got a couple of starts under my belt. Then I actually hurt myself at towards the end of my freshman season, so that's why I didn't play towards the end. So then I came in my sophomore season, kind of still thinking like, okay, like I'm still gonna, you know, start. And just didn't turn out that way for me last season. And so I just had a new role on the team. And that was just to be a game changer. And it was hard to accept at first, but then I said, you know what, like I'm gonna be the best game changer like ever. Like I'm gonna be the best I can in this role. And so that game, I had just been really, really, it was just kind of like built up pressure, because I like was maybe not getting the minutes I wanted. I was still having some success. I was still getting some assists and some goals, but I just wasn't going my way. And that game against UC Riverside, I'm from Riverside, so that was a hometown game. So I was going back home, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a game today. Like I got it, you know." And so I got in the first half, played pretty good. Started the second half, and I think 5 minutes into the second half, I scored off a cross, and I just remember I was just like so excited and kind of shocked I scored, just because like I just hadn't, you know, been in that position in a while because I wasn't playing as much. And I scored, and I think I played, maybe got taken out for like a rest, but I think I played the rest of the game, and I had a great game, just confidence, like I said. But yeah, and we ended up only winning 1-0. So that was such a great game. And I know that my teammates were happy for me because they saw, you know, like how hard it had I'd been working off the field and during practice, and like kind of all just came to to a good head during that game.
Yeah.
But
Did you have a
yeah,
lot of friends and family there since it was your hometown for you?
I did. So my immediate family was there, and I think I had some family friends there. So that was just awesome. Like I grew up maybe 20 minutes away from that university. And so that it just felt good, essentially.
Yeah. So what's the pink headband? Is that something, is that a personal something, is a superstition? You wore it a couple times, now it's kind of a token of luck. What's the behind
Yeah.
that?
So I wear a protective pink headgear headband. It's like a thicker headband. And the brand's called Unequal. And I remember, I think I could be wrong. I think it was the 2011 Olympics. And I think that's when they were in London. I could be so wrong. I know it was some Olympics, but anyways, one of the US women's players, Ali Krieger, wore a black headband, and it was to protect against concussions. And I remember that same year I got my first concussion. I think I was maybe in like 6th or 7th grade. And my mom is probably the epitome of a soccer mom. Saw that this, professional player is wearing this headband, and she ordered me like two right away. And I wanted pink. And so at first it definitely started out as a protector against, whether I'm heading a ball or if I'm like hitting someone's head like a collision, or if I'm like my head's hitting the ground. And so yeah, it definitely started as a protective gear. And then throughout the years, I just kind of just like felt naked not wearing it during games. And like you said, like it kind of became like a security type of blanket. Like I'm like, okay, I want this during games. But it was really great when I started doing my college recruitment my freshman year, because these coaches could see the pink headband. And that's how all these cute coaches knew me throughout Southern California. I was like the girl with the pink headband. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise by my mom. So yeah, I still wear it now, and I have it's come full circle. I have an NIL deal with the company now. So it's great. Um really, really happy that she made me do that when I was little.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a lot of athletes, every athlete, I mean, not every athlete, but a lot of professional athletes at least have their thing. You look
Right.
at, I don't know, like Clay Matthews when he was with the Green Bay Packers, had his long flowing hair, and
The
everyone had,
hair.
like, that was
Yeah.
his thing. And there was a kid on my track team in high school. He'd always wear his Nike headbands upside down. And then he continued it. He
Okay.
went on to run in college, and like that was his like superstition. He wore the same like Nike headband upside
Right.
down. The check was upside down. So every athlete's got it now. Makenna Carbon's thing is she's the girl with the pink headband
Pink
who's just
headband.
rocking it.
Yep.
So how
Yeah.
did the NIL deal? Did they reach out to you after they saw you, repping their brand?
They knew of me, but I think I DM'd them first, and I just gave them
Okay.
like all of my reasonings. I was like, and I think they just couldn't deny it. And they're a really nice brand, and I know that they're a protective gear brand, and they do more than just headgear. They work with like football and lacrosse too, and like just for more protection like on the chest and shoulder area. But no, I reached out to them. But
It's still
you know,
cool.
yeah, no, yeah, I'm so stoked for sure.
Yeah. Were you okay? Backing up the story, were you mad when your mom bought those? You're like, Mom, that's not cool. Like nobody else is wearing those.
So I was, but she gave me an ultimatum. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like you said, I'm like, that's so dorky. And she was like, because I had just got a concussion, and she was just like, well, this isn't gonna happen again. So she said, you either wear this unequal headband that is like maybe a couple inches like thick, and it's really not that noticeable now, or I have to wear a full 90 headgear, which I don't know if you know what that is, but growing up, it was also to protect against concussions, but it was a whole helmet. It was like a helmet made of this, like a lot of keepers wore it, and it would wrap around your ears right here, and you would basically look kind of like a rugby player. And I don't know if they were, or like a hockey player. And I was just like, well, I'm not doing that. So I will wear the headband.
Yeah. And now you have to thank your mom because she's partly the reason you got your NIL deal and you got this rocking headband.
No, you're exactly right. I know. Yep.
Parents are always right in the end. I mean, we as kids, we're always like, that's so stupid. You don't get what it's like to be a kid. You don't understand me. And then we grow up and we look back and we're like, okay, maybe they were right.
Yeah, it sucks. I know. You
Yeah, we
don't.
don't want to admit it either. Like,
No, you
never
don't.
tell it to your parents, like, yes, mom, you were right. You can't give them that
No, you can't. You can't.
satisfaction.
You can't. You can't, because then they're never gonna like let go of it and never let you forget it.
So super exciting tomorrow. You guys play number one UCLA. Now that's going to be on me. I got to try to get this episode out before the game. Otherwise, it's just going to sound dumb that we're talking about something that already happened. But I mean, obviously, huge game playing against the number one team in the country. What's the thought? Personally, team going in. I mean, there's got to be some jitters just because it's the number one team, but also like, you guys played well against Stanford last year. They're top 10 teams. So, it's not too far fetched that you can hang with a top team also.
Yeah. So, we we haven't, obviously we know we're playing UCLA, but my coaches this past week haven't used their name or like their status. We've just been kind of treating it like a normal game. But they did make one funny comment. My head coach, his name's Alex Pera. He's a great guy and a great coach, but he does have these little funny like phrases, I guess, or just how he says things can be kind of funny. But we were in a huddle and he said, "No one else on this earth besides the people in this circle believe that we can win tomorrow. So let's just go balls out. We have nothing to lose." Right. So
Yeah.
I love that mentality. I love being the underdog. Like, who doesn't, going and showing like what we are and not kind of like giving, like, excuse my language, but like giving a shit who they are. Like, we're going to play our game. And like, hopefully, I think we're nervous, but I think a majority are just excited too, just to play, like I said, like, the number one ranked team. And we're also really excited. So we actually played them in the spring 4 months ago. And we played them at home. And just like the Stanford game, if you were there, you would have known they beat us 2-1. And it was the same thing. They scored off a PK kick and a corner kick. So never in the run of play. And we actually got a goal on them. But like I said, we ended up losing, but we didn't lose. Like people that watched the game, people that played in the game, like it did not feel like we lost. And so I think that kind of gave us courage, and we knew that we were going to play them in the fall. So like, we kind of know what they're about. We kind of know what to expect. Yeah. So I think we're just excited. I think we're excited just to show them that we're not, just some team that they're going to crush. Like, we're going to give them a battle for sure.
Yeah. Being the underdog it's a good place to be. Like you said, you don't have anything to lose. They're the ones who have something to lose. Being the
Right.
ranked team, you've always got something to lose. They're always trap games that you could fall into. When you're the underdog, you just got to go there and give it your all because, I mean, what the heck's the difference? If you lose the
Yeah,
game,
exactly.
you're not worse off. And if you win the game, like, heck yeah, we just beat,
Yeah.
so you got to have that, like, let's go in there and let's go kick some ass. And why not? What do we have to lose mentality?
Yeah, that's for sure my mentality. I know that's the rest of the team's mentality, is just to go in there and just be relentless. And my coach calls it being a honey badger, because the honey badgers are animals that literally, like, the most like deadly animal. Like, it's actually crazy. And they just will eat anything in their sight. And so my coach calls it being a honey badger. And that's like what we're gonna do, like, we don't have anything to lose. We're gonna play our style of soccer, which is like keeping the ball, playing to feet, playing one touch, playing fast, but like, not letting them get in our heads and not letting their status get to us either.
Right. I think that's what gets a
Yeah.
lot of teams in all sports when you play a highly ranked opponent is they get in your head. They don't even have to do anything to get in your head. You just like know they're good, and that gets in your head, and automatically it's like, they got you. So that's
Right.
like the biggest thing. And it's hard, obviously. It's hard. These teams
Yeah.
everyone knows how good, these teams are, and they're good for a reason. So it's hard to not let them get in your head, but you just don't want to let it own you.
Yeah, exactly. Can't let it affect your play.
No, exactly. No, I love underdogs. Everyone loves a good well, most people love a good underdog. There's
Most
probably a couple weird.
people.
There's probably some weirdos out there who don't like underdogs, But I'm
No,
a guy.
they want the number one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm the guy who looks at the Kentucky Derby horses, and I pick the one that's got like second to worst. I was like, he's got a really cool name. He's got low odds. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna get it. They haven't yet, but I'm still
That,
waiting for that. I'm still waiting for that
that
race.
is that's exactly what I do. Like if they have a good name and their odds are big,
Yeah,
give me a super
yeah.
trifecta horse.
Like they have 300 to 1 odds, but they're gonna go out there and they're gonna get
That's
them.
that's really funny.
So, what's been your most memorable game so far? Was a game-winning kick? Was it your first game, or is there different game that really just kind of sticks out in your memory so far in your career?
Yeah, so I mean, besides the Riverside game, because that was just a great game. I think that most memorable game was maybe our very first. It was our very first plane travel trip, where like my sophomore year, which was technically my freshman season, we went to Colorado and we played Air Force. And I remember the game was postponed because of the rain, like there was a storm or something. And during the game, like I think maybe like 30 minutes into the game, they had to halt our like there was a huge crack of lightning. So we all had to run inside. Like everyone just took cover and we had to run inside to the locker room and wait for like 20 minutes for the storm to pass, get back out there, finish our game. And then I remember as well. So the way the field's set up is there's one side with like all the fans and supporters, and the other side has like the two teams. And normally there's no people are not allowed to sit on our sides or sit behind our teams. But for whatever reason, this game, the ref didn't care. And we had the whole Air Force men's baseball team right behind our bench. And they looked up our names and were just giving us like crap the whole game. And like just calling our names, just saying stuff that was just crazy. And so we ended up losing this game. And I know this game maybe doesn't sound great, but to me, just all of like, it's just like all these imperfections just like almost made it perfect. You know, it's a story that we still talk about. And I just think it's such a fun first experience of a game. It's like we ended up losing. I think we ended up playing pretty good though, but the rain delay, the people, the peanut gallery that was right behind us, like the field was gorgeous. The sunset was so pretty. Like I don't know. I just look back at that game and just think like, that's just a true college experience game. So, and it was my very first travel trip. So I think that's a very fun game to look back on.
Sounds like a good memory to me. I mean, a good story to tell. The result doesn't matter. I mean, everything else makes it a good story.
Yeah, yeah, but I know that probably won't be everyone's first choice on my team, but I just
it's
thought that
it,
that was just
it's good to have a unique answer. You don't want to be like everybody else. Just say like, "Oh, my favorite
yeah,
game was the game I blah blah blah." You got to have a good unique
yeah,
answer.
right, right. No, so there you go. That's my unique answer.
So, obviously your season starts at the end of summer when you're playing games. What's the hottest game you've had to play in? There's had to have been some games that gets pretty hot.
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, it's really funny. This is my third season, and the hottest game we played in was actually 2 games ago. So last week we played 7 o'clock in Fresno, and we started the game, and it was 103 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't think that it dipped below 100 until like maybe the last 10 minutes of the game. It was crazy. Because I don't know if you've ever been to Fresno or not, or and I'm not from Fresno, but it's in the Central Valley, and heat just bakes it, and it was such a dry heat. And I just remember like halftime I came off the field and I just doused myself in water. It looked like I jumped in a swimming pool when I went back on the field because I was just so hot and sweaty. So yeah, that was a hot game. That was a crazy game.
I can't even imagine. That sounds horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I can't believe those people live in Fresno and play in that heat, but more power to them, I guess.
Yeah, that's insane to think that they practice in that every day and their home games are there. I mean, obviously it's not like that for the entire season, but still they're gonna have to play more than other people are there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's 7 o'clock at night too. Like when the
Yeah,
sun is like
that's
setting.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's so miserable.
Yeah, that is nuts. So in a non-soccer sense, what are your hobbies when you're not playing soccer? What do you like to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously everyone loves to hang out with their friends, so I have a great group of friends at Poly. But I also am a really big music enthusiast. I have a huge vinyl collection of like kind of older music, so I'm really into like country and western and like outlaw country, so like Johnny Cash, Hank Williams Jr., like Waylon Jennings. So yeah, I love that. So I spend a lot of time just, trying to find more music, trying to find more vinyls at like used sales and whatnot. Also, I have a cat. His name is Obi-Wan Cat Nobi. And
That's awesome. I love
oh
that.
yeah, it's Obi for short. And I guess that's not really a hobby, but I really love my cat. I love dogs too, but this guy is
But
just
cats are superior. That is a fact, and
oh
I will say that out loud on the podcast for everyone to hear.
okay.
Cats are better than dogs.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with Alex because yes, they are better. Especially just where I'm at in my life right now. Like I don't have time to take a dog out and like
Oh,
for a walk and stuff. Like oh, cats are just so self-independent
they
and
are.
like I'm away on a trip right now. I filled up his food, I cleaned his litter box, and I'm like, cool, I'll see you in 2 days. Like it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
sweet.
And you
So
get a good lap cat that'll come and cuddle and play and
yep,
just show you some love. Cats know when you're depressed too. Like if you're sad, you're down in the dumps, your cat will come over and it'll like,
they
hey,
will.
I'm gonna show
Yeah,
you some
and
love.
their purs, I don't know this the exact fact, but I think their purs are supposed to like strengthen something like your bone marrow or I don't know. It's supposed to I don't don't quote me,
The
but
the
there's
point
something
is
good about their purs.
the point is cats are better than dogs and they're great for your health.
Yes, in that order, unless you're allergic, but
Right. Well, I'm allergic. My fiance is
oh,
allergic. She had 4 cats, and you
okay.
just deal with it, I guess. It's
Yeah, and I
it's
know
it's
they yeah, I mean, yeah, you just gotta take some medication. And I know that they do
yeah.
make hypoallergenics that you can buy, but well, a little more pricey. But you gotta do what you gotta do.
I do love the outlaw country, the Johnny Cash. That's something that I don't hear a ton. Talking to people who like country, they only like
Yeah,
modern country. It's
yeah.
not like that's not true country. It's not.
I I so agree with you on this. And I besides soccer, like people like there's a question that's like, oh, what topic could you talk for 30 minutes straight about? Besides soccer, it's just music in general. And I probably more towards outlaw country. I just have such a big love for that. And just like the history of it. Um, and I know, so I've never picked it for aux in the car with my roommates, which I totally understand. But my I get it from my dad. Both my parents love music and it was just always around me. And so I just have an affinity for just older music and just kind of gravitate towards it more.
Good
But
stuff. It really is. I
yeah,
mean, I love classic country. I'm not a big modern country person, but I love classic country. I can get behind some like 50s, 60s, 70s country. I mean, that's where it's
mhm.
at. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
What is your
Oh
go-to
yeah.
karaoke song? Like if you had to sing karaoke for
Well,
your
I
team,
gosh,
like you have to pick.
right. Well, here's my problem because, like I said, like I love, a lot of different types of music that not people don't normally like. So I gotta pick a song that people know. I can't pick like a random song, but I think I'd have to go with a good song most people know is "Friends in Low Places" by Garth Brooks. I feel like that is
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
kind of a basic answer, but like I feel like I could maybe sing it kind of well, and people would know the song.
Yeah. No, that's a good karaoke song. That's a good, like, you're out at the
Yeah,
bars with your buddies, your friends, your team,
right.
whoever. You hop up and sing some karaoke. You get the whole bar going like that. That's a good song to get a group of people laughing and having a good time.
That's where my mind was. Like a sing-along song.
Yeah.
That's like a song. Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Sing it
thinking.
with me. Everyone else joins
Yeah, see,
in.
there you go.
So, are you big into TV or movies? You said you're big into music, but
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I love TV and movies. If I could lay on the couch all day and watch movies and TVs, I would do it. Um, but I think my favorite TV show right now I'm watching Peaky Blinders, which I really like it, but I'm only on like season 2 or season 3, so I just started it, but I really like it. But I think my probably favorite TV show of all time is Game of Thrones. I
oh,
was just like
yes.
so obsessed with that show for so
Yes.
long, and I just blew through it.
So did I. I'd not seen it till last summer. My roommate I was living with was like, you gotta watch it. We've got to watch it. And I would spend most Saturdays, I'd watch 6 or 7 episodes, just
Yeah.
cranking it out. Just I could not stop. I got so
Oh
sucked in.
gosh.
It was so good. And I mean, the character development is fantastic. The
So good.
storyline it's all amazing. There's nothing bad about it. And well, I mean, the last season
The
wasn't as
last
good.
season, and I before I watched it, I heard people say like, "Oh, the last season sucked, last episode sucked." So I already knew going into it might not be great. I didn't think it was like too bad.
No, I didn't either. I
Oh,
didn't It wasn't as bad as everyone made it out. Everyone hated
yeah,
on it so harshly.
yeah, they did.
And overall, I was like, yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, a little anticlimactic, but
A
have
little
you watched?
rushed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that one. Have you watched the new HBO series House of Dragon?
I have not. Is it good? Have you watched it?
I have watched it. So I think the first season came out last year, and that show, I could see with more seasons, I could see that show becoming my new favorite show because that
Okay.
depicts like 300 years earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And so where the Targaryens, like it's like when they're in their prime, essentially. So there's like all of these dragons and like all of these people with like bleach blonde hair. So
And
that's
there
a
haven't
good.
there been rumors for a Jon Snow spinoff of some kind?
Yeah, I have heard about that too. I don't think I've heard anything more than rumors, but I have heard about it.
That would be good.
I would be so interested.
So who's your favorite character from the show?
Oh gosh. I mean, Tyrion's great. Who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
like love him?
Yeah.
Um,
He'd be one of my favorites.
yeah. I ended up really liking the Hound. Like I liked his like story arc,
Really?
kind of. Yeah. I
Huh.
thought I liked when him and Arya were like on their own for like a bit in like season whatever. And he kind of took more of a like a father figure, I guess, type thing. And yeah, I like Jamie too. I thought he had a really cool story arc.
Yeah.
But I was upset how he went back to Cersei in the last season though, but it's okay.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. I guess I don't have to say, but like the way it happened, but I was not happy with the way they killed them. I thought that
Oh,
was
I
such
agree.
like especially for Cersei, kind of this like character everyone hated. Everyone was like
Right,
waiting for that moment where she kind of
right.
finally got what she deserves. And it was such a letdown. It was like the weakest way they could have killed off two of the biggest characters for the entire
Yeah,
show.
no, I 100% agree. It was just kind of a cop out. I remember seeing that and I like was like, oh, they're not gonna die though. They'll just be stuck in there and they'll get out. And then they died. And I was like the next scene and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, but I
Yeah.
agree.
There were many times throughout the show where my roommate who had seen it would tell me something. I'd be like, "Wait, I thought whatever," and he'd be like, no, it doesn't matter anymore." And then we'd get later in the show, and it mattered. And I was like, "You
Yeah.
lied to me. This is horrible. I was living under the delusion that everything was okay, and now all these people are dead." I mean, there were
Oh,
so
yeah.
many twists and turns. It's just a like again, spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, maybe you should mute this part.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
when Rob and Talia get together, I was
Right.
like, he's already promised he's got to marry the whatever his name's daughter.
Mhm.
Is something gonna come out of that? And he said, no, it never comes up again.
Oh my gosh.
So when we got to the Red Wedding episode, I was just like, what? What are you
That's a
talking
that was a crazy episode. I remember watching it, my mouth just like dropped open because I feel like that was like the first. Now we're just talking about Game of Thrones, but I feel like the first time that was the first time in the series that besides season 1 with Ned Stark being killed off, I feel like that was like the first or second time where like the Stark house like took an L, like they lost. You know what I'm
They
saying?
took a
Because they
lot
were
of L's.
they did, but I feel like that was like that was like the very first, like the kind of the Kickstarter. Because like before that, they were doing really well, like winning the war, and then that happened, and I was just like,
The
my,
Rob was just kicking ass, and
he
then
was,
boom. Such a
and then
likable character. Avenging his
I know,
father, leading his family to glory for the right cause, and then
yep, that was just, and he was really attractive, so I was just upset that he was killed off the show. I was like, but yeah,
yeah. The
that's such
one
a
other one that he got me with was what was the after the second the Cersei's other kid. What's his name?
oh,
Todd, something with a T. What can't I'm
and
drawing
was
a
it when
blank.
he I don't know his name, but are you talking about when he jumped out of the window?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my he's like whatever my roommates I said he's gonna be a really great king after this moment. Like things are going to move in the right direction. He's gonna do the right thing. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great. And then he stepped out a window. I was
Yeah. I
like,
was
you
like,
did it
that's
again. You
cool.
got me again. Like, what the heck?
Wow, he really got you. That's really funny.
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
know.
cruel. You can really mess it. It's a good show for that because it's got so many twists that you don't
Right.
see coming. You can just lie to somebody and then their reaction is priceless.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I just like anyone that wants to watch it, I'm just like, be warned, everyone dies. Like
Yeah.
everyone
If
die.
you fall in love with a character, odds are they're not going to
Like
make it to the end.
odds are it's very slim, you know.
And the characters you hate are going to be there for a while.
Oh gosh, I was so happy when Joffrey died that
Yeah.
because I was like almost getting like not sick of watching this show, but I just like almost hated, like I was
Yeah.
getting hatred like myself
Mm.
when I was watching it,
Oh yeah. He was so
So
messed up. Him
yeah,
and Cersei. And
it was just
then
crazy.
what was the really sick and twisted guy who would skin people and they took over
Oh,
what the heck he tortured Theon and all of that.
oh yeah. Is it Ramsey?
Yes, Ramsey. I
Yeah,
could not stand him.
he
He
was
was horrible.
gross.
i
Yeah,
I hated that him. I was just
I do.
waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah, and he had a good death. I really that was like a well deserved kind of long time coming death.
Yeah.
But
So long story short, if you haven't seen
yeah,
Game of Thrones, you have to watch
go watch it. It is so
it.
good. Even though we might have just spoiled the whole series just now, but
There's a lot of big things we could have spoiled though.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
There's so much. It's packed with so much. It's just
Yeah, it's so good.
I could do a whole podcast on Game of Thrones and just talk about it for hours and hours on end.
Right. No, same.
All right. So how about we end the episode on goals for the season? I think that's a good way to wrap it up. You started your season. Do you have any personal goals, team goals for things you'd like to see?
Yeah, so I think definitely as a team, we the past two seasons, 2021, 2020, 2022, we were Big West champs, so we won our league. So we got 2 rings last 2 years in a row. So we want to, continue that, try to go for 3. Um and I think more, and then also make our way to the tournament. We've even though we've won our league, we didn't win our conference tournament, and the winner of the conference tournament goes to the NCAA tournament. So we've like just one more step to go. And so we're hoping to do that this season. And more personal. I know I kind of mentioned this earlier. I would just really love to see my role from last year. While I really excelled in my role last year, I would just love to see it maybe, grow to be a little bit more on the field. And like you said, like we have a few games under our belt this past season, and I've been starting this go around, playing a new position and starting this go around. So it's been going pretty well so far, but just to keep that up, I want to be influential, and I want to be in that role where I can be on the field and like helping our team win. But at the same time, if like injuries happen, or if just something's not working out, if there's a better connection that could be happening, and something happens where I'm maybe not in what I saw myself to be, like, still I want to be the best version of myself in no matter what position I'm in. So I think goal is to try to stay where I'm at, and if not, knock it down on myself and just keep going, and just keep like looking at the bigger picture of what we want to do as a team, and any way I can contribute to the team. So
Very admirable goals. Very, very
yeah.
good. I like it. I mean, they're good goals to have. I think they're achievable, and that's an important factor in a goal. You want to be able to achieve it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these are definitely goals that I could, like you said, achievable, not, like insane goals, but
No, you don't want to steal
also,
the moon or something like, crazy.
no, not yet, not this year, but yeah, no, for right now, this is what I got.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to be tuning into some of your matches. I noticed that you guys have games on ESPN Plus. I have ESPN Plus, so now I have a reason to go watch some Cal Poly soccer
There you
and
go.
to root you guys on. So thanks for coming on the show, being the first soccer player, first D1 soccer player overall. All the boxes checked off. It's been great talking to you about everything from soccer to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So I wish you the best of luck against UCLA tomorrow. I'm going to try my hardest to get this episode out before that game. But regardless, best of luck against UCLA and with the rest of your season.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast. You sent it to me, and I watched some episodes actually, and I was really stoked to be on it. So thank you so much for having me. And yeah, our game tomorrow is at 7 o'clock on ESPN. So if anyone wants to come watch,
Tune in.
yeah, tune in.
All right, awesome.